Hi, this is Michael Becker, and in this Tinderbox lesson, we're going to talk about spelling, specifically how to spell check your file and the values within your attributes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let me show you. Okay, so here we have a note, and you'll find throughout this note I have a number of areas where I have some intentional misspelling. So we say factor here, point is misspelled down here, and in this note you'll see that there is a when the number of notes that have intentional misspelling in them, etc. And so the question is, how do we want to go fix these? So these are obvious. So for example, within Tinderbox, as you type within a note, and I can show you that here if we go up to the document settings. If we go up to document settings, you'll see here it will check note as you check spelling as you type. So if I'm typing in this note and I can say let's misspell, and then see if you misspelled something, it will autocorrect for you in this case. Or if we have a note that is generation that is noticeably misspelled, it will kind of highlight that for you automatically and then give you recommendations on how to fix that spelling. The other thing that you can do, let's say you want to intentionally have these words misspelled and you don't want to be distracted by having them underlined. Well, you can actually use an attribute for that. It's called no spelling, and you can, let's add that here, and you can see I can actually check that off. And so now when I go back and look at that note, the underlines are gone because I've told Tinderbox to not check spelling on this particular note. And that can be useful when you're using, working with other languages, or words that are spelled correctly in a note, and you don't want to be distracted by Tinderbox underlining them for you. So that is a useful technique that you can go ahead and use. Now, the question though is, how do we go in and find the spelling errors in like factor, or spelling errors in the name, which is just yet another attribute within your system? And so there's a lot of ways that you can go about doing that. And specifically, I'm going to show you two, essentially using action code and the collect and the values action code. So let me go ahead and give you an example. So let's say we're on this survey. I'm selected this note survey, and I'm going to take Command 1 and open up my inspector. And you'll see that I have a number of stamps that I've created to give you examples on how to do various incarnations of spelling within the solution. So let me go, I'm going to first create a new note called spelling. All right, and I'm just going to move that up here to the top. And what I first want to do in this example is, sorry, I want to get it up here. There we go. What I want to first do in this example is show you how using this action code, so essentially values, text values equals name dot format. So what this action code is doing is it's saying, go get every note in your Tinderbox file, grab the name of that note, and then format it by line breaking. That's what this dot operator is doing, is saying format by line, putting a line break associated with every note. Look what happens if I remove this dot format here. If I go ahead and hit spelling, what I'm saying is telling Tinderbox to go get the values of every name in the note, basically the name attribute, and stick it in text. And watch what happens. There you go. There's every name. Now, if we put the dot operator back in, the dot format, it comes back and it will give me a line break between each one of those. So now I can go through and I can say, all right, here are all of the notes in my file, and there is this one that is misspelled correctly. I can go ahead and not delete, copy that, do a find, paste it in here, right? It will go find that note for me, and I can go ahead, it's right there, and then I can fix that spelling error right there. So that's one way to go about doing it. But you have other granular ways to go about doing it as well. So let's say I now want to use the same the same action code values, but this time I want to find the descendants of a particular note. So let's say I'm sitting here in my survey question, and I essentially want to apply the stamp where we say text equals value descendants, grab the name, and then I'm going to this time I'm using a dot operator replace. So watch what happens here. If I remove the dot operator replace, essentially what I'm telling Tinderbox to do is go get all of the descendants of this note survey questions and stick the name in the text field. So we do that, there you go. And we can see that, okay, in this case we have no spelling errors at this point. Let's go ahead and interject a couple just to show you what happens here. So we're going to interject a couple of, whoops, I think I just deleted the note. So we're going to interject a couple of those notes now, and we apply it again, and you'll see that it's identified those spelling errors that we've just interjected into the file. Now what we can do is if we put the dot operator back in, so what this is doing is when you put the values action code, what happens is it goes and gets all of these notes and then puts a semicolon in between these, because essentially what it's doing for you is building a list. So with the dot operator, what I'm telling it to do is go find the semicolon and replace the instance of a semicolon with a line break. And so now when I go ahead and do that, you'll see it comes back and it gives me that that instance of semicolon with a line break. Now I got a lot going on with my computer right now, so it is taking a little bit to do the spell checking. So then it sees here we've got please misspelled, and we can go ahead and check that spelling. Now let's say we actually had some note, some text in here. You know, this note is a container for my study survey questions, right? So I don't want to actually replace the body of this note. That's why I have a general kind of spelling note up here. And in this case, now look what happens. We can now go back to, using the collect attribute, we can say collect descendants like we did before, but this time we can put an offset on it, where we can say, go get the descendants not of this note, but go get the descendants of the note named survey questions. And so what that's going to do is it's going to say, hey, Tinderbox, go collect all the descendants of this note survey questions here, stick them in, give me the names, and then do the dot replace dot operator function like we showed you before. So now if we hit apply, it's got, essentially what it's done is it's gone and grabbed all of the notes from this subdirectory, and it will show me that there's the one that is misspelled there. You can do that same function with the values operator. So in this case, I can say values descendants, and we can go ahead and replace that, and you'll see we get the same operator function there as well. So that's another way of going about doing it. Now, let's say you didn't want to be just spell checking the name of your notes, but you wanted to do the same function with other variables. Well, here's a reason why that's an important distinction. So when I do here and I go and see name, well, I can go ahead and grab that element, do a quick search to find that note, because what Tinderbox has in its search function is you can search text and name, and so it's going to go find that note with that misspelled name for me. And if I want to turn off text, I can go ahead and do this. It's just going to give me the note that has that misspelled name, and then I can quickly jump there. The find function doesn't do that in other variables other than name. So how would you go know when where that misspelled word was? So for example, here I've got background factor. Factor here is misspelled. How am I going to find that if I just perform the typical function of pulling in the name? Well, this is what I've done here. If I go text collect descendants, go get the survey, go get the descendants of the survey. Now when I'm doing it, don't give me name, give me variables. And in addition to giving me the variables, I want you to also put a comma in, and then go grab me also the path. Okay, so I'm basically constructing a little bit more detail. And so in this case now, if I hit plus, you'll see here, I'm now getting the values from the variable attribute for all of the notes under survey question. And I'm also getting the path for those notes. So I can see here that the survey question, please specify your age range. This is telling me that the word background factor is misspelled in this note. So now I can go get that note right here and then fix that spelling. I can go ahead and spell it correctly. Right? And then we can rerun that function, and you'll see that background factor has now been correctly spelled. So that is a great way. And then you'll notice here too, this one I'm now seeing that it's not an attribute that's misspelled, but in this case now, because attitude here in this note is properly spelled, but you'll notice I've got the name attribute in this question. My use of PIMS at least weekly would be And then, oh, excuse me, it's this note down here. So attitude is misspelled in the subjective norms one. So if we go down and we can go see how to go, fix that one and go find that particular question. My use of hymns right here would be important to me. And so we can go and fix that spelling error in that one right here. Okay, so that's how you go ahead and apply action code and using spelling. Now, again, you can use these values and collect functions for other reasons and purposes as well, but specifically for this idea of leveraging it to be able to spell check the values within your attributes, I find this just exceedingly helpful, especially before I go get ready to publish something to somebody. So I hope you find this valuable too. Thank you very much. And if you don't mind, please like this video and subscribe and make sure to tell your friends. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.